I'm Maya Rosen of the ninth grade class. My history with the ocean is I spend my summers at Salisbury Beach with my grandparents.
All right, so how many of these products do you think came from the ocean?
Well, definitely this, and definitely this.
All right, so for the ones that didn't, where do you think they may have came from? It can be a total guess.
Plants.
Cam Weaver, 10th grade. I like going to the beach.
All right, so how many of these products do you think came from the ocean?
These two.
All right, and for the ones that didn't, where do you think they may have come from? It can be a guess if you don't really know.
I'm not sure, like a drugstore maybe?
I'm Mimi Zahavi. I'm a junior, and I like to eat fish, and I like to swim.
All right, so how many of these products in front of you do you think came from the ocean?
Probably fish and chips, and a shell necklace.
All right, for the ones that didn't, where do you think they came from?
Painkiller, probably, well, all these probably pharmacy, and like those come from like, I don't know, pharmacy. I just see it on the shelves.
Mark Bedetti, I'm a senior boarding student from Beverly, Massachusetts. My connection to the ocean, actually, I feel like I have a pretty strong connection to the ocean. I've grown up on the water my entire life. I spend my summers and my whole year when I'm not at school on the water. I'm actually a sailing instructor, and I sail all summer long and love fishing. And I actually wrote my college essay on the ocean and about actually my fear of open water and how like I used to have such like a large fear about like swimming in deep water, but not anymore, luckily. But yeah.
Out of these products, how many do you think are from the ocean? Out of the products in front of you?
Fish and chips, because unless they're serving you fake fish is from the ocean. Alright, there's a shell necklace here, but like I feel like it'd be too obvious that this would be from the ocean. So I'm gonna say the shell necklace isn't from the ocean, because I feel like it could be synthetic shells. And I think like your video is trying to prove a point here about how the ocean uses a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say this is from the ocean, late, and I think this is also from the ocean. I mean, this could be a trick question. I bet all these are from the ocean, and I screwed up. But yeah, what's the answer?
They're all from the ocean.
Oh, they're all from the ocean. Yeah, unless you use synthetic shells, because I bought a necklace this weekend and it had a fake.
Hello, it's me, Miss Foster. What subject I teach?
Yeah.
I teach history and English, and my history with the ocean is that I grew up on the Cape, so I've been surrounded by the ocean my whole life. And every time I go there, I feel like I'm going back home.
All right, so how many of these products do you think came from the ocean? If you had to guess.
From the ocean. I'm gonna say 3.
All right, will you point to which three maybe, or?
That's just a random guess.
Okay. And for the ones that didn't, where do you think they may have came from, if you were to guess?
A lab.
Michelle Ruby. I teach environmental science and public policy in the environment, and I guess I've lived within an hour of the ocean my whole life, although I'm not really a beach person, the whole sunbird thing.
All right, so how many of these products do you think came from the ocean?
Oh, hold on, I gotta figure out. Let's see, I would say, I'm gonna guess 4, because I'm not 100% sure of the drugs. So,
All right,
So I'm
so
going
for the
guessing
ones
4.
for the ones that didn't, where may they have come from?
Since it would be one of the medications, probably originally like rainforest. That's my guess.
Perfect. As we saw in the interviews, there are many resources in the ocean that people are relatively unaware of. There are many medical resources in the ocean. These resources can have anti-cancer properties, and they can be successful antibacterials, and they can be made into pain relievers. Many of these come from invertebrates. They come from invertebrates because many of these invertebrates don't move and they need to compete in other ways. They need to compete for space and self-defense without being able to get away from predators. Thus, they use chemicals, and these chemicals can be made into drugs. Examples of anti-cancer drugs are ET743, which comes from a sea squirt, and bryostatin, which comes from a moss animal. Bryostatin is being used in human trials to be produced and comes from wild and aquacultured sources. The ET743, which comes from the sea squirt, is used in human trials to be produced and comes from aquaculture. Other resources can be made into painkillers, such as Prialt, which comes from snail venom. It comes from the venom of the poisonous cone snail. This drug shows a lot of potential because it is 1,000 times as potent as morphine and is not addictive, so it causes less harm to the patient. Antifungal examples are theopolamine, which comes from sponges. Concerns with using these resources include habitat destruction, because harvesting can cause damage. We really don't want to cause damage to these resources that we're collecting and benefiting from, because that is obviously unsustainable. Going forward, we need to find ways to use the resources without damaging the environment. This can include aquaculture and sustainable wild harvesting.